Hi and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again with yet another commander deck I've built around the new cards from Domeria United. This one's a little bit different. It's one of the cards I got in my pre-release pack. Didn't do very well at the pre-release, but I figured it's worth having a look at this card anyway and try and see if we can build a reasonable commander deck around it. The difference with this one compared to some of my other ones is a little bit more themed than usual. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Rivaz of the Claw. 1 black and red for a 3/3 legendary creature that's a Vishino Warlock. It's got Menace, that's not bad to start with. And it's got tap. Add 2 mana in any combination of colours. Spend this mana only to cast dragon creature spells. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard. And whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains, when this creature dies, exile it. Now, there's a lot of dragon decks kicking around at the moment. We had Miram in the Baldur's Gate Commander set, and that's, I think the last time I looked on EDH Rec, that was like one of the top 3 commanders now being played across the globe, or on EDH Rec anyway. And I decided it was time we tried to see if we could build something a bit different. So when I saw this card in my pre-release kit, I hadn't noticed it on the spoilers, I completely missed it. I was like, I like this card, let me see if there's something I can do with it. So here's what I'm going to do with it on MTGO. Now, as usual, little disclaimer, there's a lot of cards in here that can be really expensive if you're looking to build this in real life. You can replace them. Not sure what with at the moment. I may think about it as we're going through this little deck tech. But it is a point of fact that this is fairly still reasonable on MTGO. So bear that in mind when we're looking at this. I think it works out just about 70 ticks. So just bear that in mind when you're building this deck. In real life, it's probably going to be near $1,000, £900 if you're in the UK like I am, something around there because of some of the cards in it, but let's just bear that in mind. So, it's a Rakdos deck, it's red and black, so we've got some of the expected cards, some of the cards may not expect it, and obviously because we're trying to play with dragons in this deck, we've got a lot of dragons coming in this deck. So, we'll go through the land as usual. I've included both the versions, so I've got the Black Dragon Gate and the red version, so we can definitely fix the mana. Bloodfell Curve, Cinder Barrens, Cliff Gate, there you go, there's the other one. Command Tower, Dragonskull Summit, Drossforge Bridge. I've put Field of the Dead in because we are playing enough lands that it'll probably trigger eventually. But I haven't included the one that I usually have alongside it where I go and search for land, because it's going to be a little bit more different this deck. For Wounding Rune, so on and so forth, you can see the list. I've got Guildless Commons in. I do play this card occasionally in Commander, but because we're trying to get up to some really big mana costs for dragons later on, I figured it was worth having the bounce land in. Likewise, somewhere down here, I've got the Carnarium as well, so you can bounce the black and red as well. So bear that in mind. Reliquary Tower is also here, so if we do get a bit stuck on lands, we can make sure we're not discarding too much. Then just a load of swamps, mountains, Temple of the False God and Urborgs in, just so we can make sure we get the mana fixed when we need it. The rest of the ramp is a little bit different. Well, I say different, it's on par with what I usually do. So Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, Mana Crypts come into this deck. This is one of the cards I'm talking about. It's expensive in real life and reasonable on MTGO in my opinion. Soul Rings in, Arcane Signets in. I've got both the Charcoal and the Fire Diamond. I've also put in Fellwell Stone, Mind Stone, to help with the ramp, and Relic of Legends, because we've got a few legendary dragon creatures. There's also the Monument. This is ramp as well. It's also here because I wanted it in just in case we need to turn it into a creature at some stage and get it for that last 4 points of damage. People forget these turn into creatures. Dragon's Horde, because we've got lots of dragons, we might as well try and draw the cards and have the mana come in as well, and Coalition Relic, obviously, to try and ramp a bit more. The final ramp card in the deck is Solemn Simulacrum. It's one of the few creatures in here that isn't a dragon. So that's the ramp taken care of and the land base. We'll just go through the other cards. Lightning Bolt's in just to remove anything that's easy, or you might get an opponent down to low life and a Lightning Bolt will finish them off. Elixir of Immortality, so if we do get things that get discarded or get destroyed, we can shuffle our graveyard back into our library and gain the 5 life. I do tend to play as a bit more than I have been recently. As I said in a few of the other videos, I've seen a lot of mill decks recently on MTGO, and I don't want to be getting milled out with this deck, so this is why it's here. Hopefully we'll have this in our hand when the milling starts, so fingers crossed. Desperate Rituals in. There's a few other mana ramp spells that come in. So Desperate Rituals, one of them. Pyretic Rituals in. Seething Songs in. And I think I had another one, but I can't remember. I'll find it in a minute. Purely because somewhere up here at the end we've got Dragonstorm. I figured if we were playing dragons we might play Dragonstorm, so I needed some ways to make sure I had the mana to cast it and got a little bit of storm out of it to go and fight some dragons, so hence why we've got these in. To help, we've also got Dockside Extortionist. As I said before, when I'm playing red now, this tends to turn up in my decks. There are a lot of artifacts and enchantments being played in Commander. Let's get the bonus and get the treasure tokens, which helps us ramp even more. Draconic Roar, we've got a lot of fairly hefty dragons further down the road, so we can do this, reveal the card, 3 damage to a creature and 3 damage to its controller, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Dragon Tempest, to ping when we get dragons come in and make sure the dragons have haste so we can get at least one attack in with them before they probably get killed. Dragon Lord's Servants in as well, to make our dragons a little bit cheaper when we're casting them. And a bit of targeted removal, which is Terminate. Now, one of the things I have been seeing recently, there's been a lot of discussion recently over whether we should be playing targeted removal in EDH. I'm still going to play it. I think it's worthwhile. There's always going to be some annoying creatures that you need to just want to get rid of. The rest of them don't bother you, but there's always one that's going to annoy you. The first one that springs to my mind is Elesh Norn, so I figure it's worth having something in that we can just deal with things like that in. I've included Ruby Medallion as well. It makes our red spells cheaper, which means we can get our dragons out quicker. And if you've got Ruby Medallion on turn 2, Dockside's next turn for 1 red mana, so on and so forth. The last card, Swiftfoot Boots. I wanted this in for a deck. I don't always play it in my Commander decks, but I wanted it in this one to protect Rivaz when we get Rivaz in play. So that's why Swiftfoot's here. Another bit of targeted removal in Chaos Warp. This is nice. This has got a nice side effect that it does target the most annoying permanent on the battlefield. But those permanents, when they come into play, you do need to get rid of some of them, so some of them do annoy you, so this is why it's in here. Carrying on down the next targets, we've got Rift Demon Bolt in, a bit more targeted removal. Also deals with Planeswalkers, which I thought was a bonus. Likewise, Rift Bolt's in just for the suspendability, does the 3 somewhere. Seething Song I've mentioned already. One of the more expensive cards in the deck, if you're building this in real life, is Wheel of Fortune. It's not too bad if you can pick a reasonable price one up on MTGO. It might get us through if we haven't got sorry, if we have managed to empty our hand, which is quite possible with this deck with all the load casting cost stuff we've got. Refilling our hand to get the dragons we need might be a benefit. Dragon Speaker Shaman's in. Drops the cost of our dragons. It probably does get killed quite quickly, to be fair, but we might as well try and get it in and have some fun with it. I've included Hammer of Perforos because I wanted my creatures to have haste as they come in. Especially Rivaz is really important. If we can give it haste as well, it does help speed up the dragon production on the board. Sarkhan's in. Might as well have this in as well. Discard a card, draw a card, but add 1 to get some mana to cast some dragon spells. It's not a bad turnaround once you can keep it in play. Talked about the rest of these, so that's fine. Mass removal in the form of Damnation. Yeah, why not? You might as well have it in, get it over and done with. If you're getting behind, you can wipe the board, then hopefully get some dragons into play one way or the other. Crucible of Fire to make sure our dragons are big enough to survive inevitable things like fireballs, so on and so forth. I'm not saying people play fireball, but you get my drift. First one of the dragons is Atushi, the Blazing Sky. I think we might as well have the ones in from Kamigawa Neon Destiny, so we've got the red one in here. Chain Reaction is also mass removal. This is going up in my estimation as things go at the moment, purely because it does deal X damage or X's number of the creatures on the battlefield, and it's becoming a little bit better the more I play it, so it's in. Maniform Hellkite's in. A, it's a cheap dragon that only costs 4, and B, because we have got a lot of other things that are non-creatures, all the relics, for example, all the little signets, terminate, rituals, so on and so forth. It's worth having them in just to get that little bit of extra damage in occasionally. Yes, the tokens don't stay in play, but at the end of the day, you get to swing in and hit things with them, so yeah, why not? And which is one of the reasons we've got Immiston Predator in as well. We can sack one of the tokens off, and give it indestructible, and tap it, exile a card, and put +1/+1 counter on it. It seems like a really cunning plan to me, so that's why it's there. Solemn Sim I've mentioned anyway. Crux of Fate, so we can keep our dragons and blow everything else up everyone else has got in play. Again, sensible idea in this format. And if someone else is playing like the Miram deck and you need to blow all their dragons up, oh well, so be it. Junji, the Midnight Sky's in as well. Might as well have the other dragon in from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. It's got menace, and when we get to put target non-battle, we're going to be going for this option. Each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. You're not really going to find any non-dragon creatures because most of the creatures are dragon, unless something like Solemn Sim's being killed, or your Dragon Speaker, or Dockside, or something like that. You're going to use the first half of it, not the second one. I've included Ganix Astral Hunter. I like this card. It's good fun, and because it's whenever another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you get a treasure token. It means it basically, this equivalently costs 4. I know it says 5 up here because you get a treasure back when you cast it. It's technically 4 mana, so it's not too bad. Mana Geezer's in as well. Get a lot of opponents tapping out nowadays. There is control decks around, but I haven't seen many of them recently, and I feel it's worth running this in here. If we can tap this and hit the mana we need to cast Dragonstorm, that gives us a storm count of 1. If we can hit this, get more mana off it than that, and then hit things like cast Desperate Ritual and so on and so forth, live the dream and do it that way, to hit the Dragonstorm mana and get as many out as we can. Eventually, I have gone and bought myself a Terror of the Peaks. I've got to the point now where I'm thinking if I'm running red dragon decks or dragons that have red, we need Terror of the Peaks now. So I went and picked one up. They're not the cheapest card on MTGO, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a card that stays in a lot of my decks forever. So I figured it's worth picking up one now. And the ability to have it just ping anything when another creature enters the battlefield seems like a cunning plan to me. Scourge of Alcus is in. This is one of the dragons I really enjoy playing, and it also does a similar thing to Terror of the Peaks. It's just where it X's the number of dragons you control. So if you've got this in play, it pings 1 for 1 if this is the first dragon you cast, but as soon as you cast more dragons after this, it gets very good very quickly. Notice if you bring this in, if you do Dragonstorm and you bring this in first, you're going to get a lot of triggers when you bring your other dragons in, assuming you've got a storm count of like 1 or 2 or 3. Which is the ideal outcome for Dragonstorm. Excuse me. Bolt Wing Marauders in as well. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to give something +2/+0. Seemed like a reasonable plan to pump our dragons up. And Colligan the Storm's Fury is in for the dash ability. 9 times out of 10, you want to give it haste and get in and attack with those dragons. I've gone back to the original creatures from Kamigawa. So we've got Kukushiko in, the Evening Star. When it dies, each opponent loses 5 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So if you've got 3 opponents and this dies, they all lose 5, you gain 15. So that's nice. Rushi, the Falling Star's in as well. 5 damage to each creature without flying. Helps wipe the board if it gets killed off. Inferno Star's in from Forgotten Realms. It can't be countered. It's got haste. We can probably hopefully pump it up to something around 20 at some stage during the game. And really upset our opponents. It's a dragon deck, so Lathlis Dragon Queen was going to be in. I'm sure you're aware of that at some stage. When we get another dragon into the battlefield under our control, we get 5/5 red dragon creature token, so it made sense to me to have this in. Red dragon's in just because it gives us a little bit of removal. It's not the best dragon in the world. It can be easily replaced. If you can think of something else you want to put in over this, feel free to take this out and put something else in. But I quite like the ability to come in and do sort of like a Flame Tongue Carver effect to each opponent, which is kind of nice from my point of view. Scourge of the Throne's in as well for the dethrone, and whenever Scourge of the Throne attacks the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures, you get that second combat phase. Can be very good when you've got big dragons flying through the air upsetting people. The other version of Colgan's in, the Dragon Lord. It's another way of giving all our creatures haste. The chance of your opponent playing a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as the card in their graveyard is never going to happen in Commander, but it's a 6/5 for 6 mana with flying and haste, so and gives everything else haste. I think it's worth having in. Balefire Dragon's in as well. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. So if you can get this in and hit someone for 6, you can basically nuke their entire board 9 times out of 10. Terror of Mount Velas is something else I've picked up especially for this deck. I forgot this was available, and it's just the ability that when it comes into play, it gives all our creatures double strike. It can make things very interesting, especially if you've got something like Balefire Dragon around. Double strike is an unexpected bonus, basically, from a lot of people, so bear that in mind when you're playing this. Bogadin Hellcat's Impurity's got the flash. It can come in as a surprise blocker, and yeah, 5 damage as you choose amongst any number of targets. Yeah, okay, it's not the best bit of damage distribution in the world, but you can ping a couple of small creatures, or you can just nuke someone in the head for 5, which makes sense to me when I was playing it. I've also picked up Vampiric Dragon. I liked this back in the day in Odyssey. I did try and play it in standard decks. It was not good. I wasn't very good at standard back then. I was a bit behind the curve, to be honest. But, you know, gives a little bit of repeatable damage. You've got a few bits of mana floating around at the end of you know, before your untap step, getting pings off and getting some, you know, you might kill a creature and make it a little bit bigger, so I think it's worth having some fun with anyway. Last few spells are coming up now. I've included Rise of the Dark Realms. You're going to probably, you know, between Damnation, Crux of Fate, wherever the other one is, Chain Reaction, you probably are going to kill a lot of creatures during the game, and get 9 mana and get them all back on your side of the ball is probably a way forward. Likewise, Blasphemous Axe here, just so we can make sure we can keep the board under control if need be. Dragonstorm I've mentioned a few times now. You know, Blasphemous Axe for 1 red mana, then Dragonstorms are really quite good fun. But that's just there so we can just, you know, get more dragons out if we get to that point in the game. And then I've also included, just for a bit of laughing, Fire Dragon. This, I think, was printed back in the day ages ago. I don't exactly know when, because this is the Masters Edition stuff. But we have got, in the mana base, quite a few mountains, or cards that count as mountains. And yeah, come in, deal that much damage to an opponent who's got that many mountains in play. It might kill something, or creature, sorry, not permanent creature, read it wrong. But it does help. We get rid of one of the annoying creatures, maybe an angel if there's one in play that's annoying us, we can deal with it with this, so that's what we're going with. But anyway, that's my take on Rivaz. If you think I've missed anything out, let me know down below in the comments. It is September. I am trying to get up a little bit, so if you can hit the follow button here on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it. I'd also love it if you click the link that's down below on Twitch and came and followed me on Twitch as well, just so I can get there. I'm desperately trying to get up to 150 followers before my birthday in early October, so if you're watching this video after early October, oh well, you can still come and join us, but I'm hoping people will watch this before then and come and give me a follow over on Twitch. And I stream, just so we know, because I haven't said it in any other videos, I usually stream on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, and a Sunday afternoon UK time. The times are up on my Twitch page, and my Twitter link is Reckamar Gaming, so you can come and follow me on Twitter. I tend to post on there when I'm going live as well. But anyway, thank you for watching this video about Rivaz. I hope you enjoyed it. I suspect there are things I've missed, but this is how I'm going to play it for a while. Any comments, anything you think I should be putting in that isn't in the deck, let me know down below, and I'll always come back and do an update if I need to. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you all on my Twitch channel soon. Later.